Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Good day, this is Rejef and Howard Ra with Siren Buddha Medicine. And I want to talk about something serious. We look at Earth. Earth is round. Earth is flat. We're still in an illusion. And I realize more and more how much so. Because the one thing that we're not talking about is that Earth as a womb space has a venereal infection. Yes, she does. We call them aliens. Yeah, we call them extraterrestrials. And even if the king said that it was okay to infect Earth's female nature, it isn't. For this king, for this 1%, for this entity to take first dibs at first fruits of Earth and then give. Oh, how I could play on these words right now, but I won't. So this same type of mentality, it seems to have some kind of sexually transmitted disease where it likes to gorge, where it's like snuff porn. All this killing and stuff is very sexual to this entity. And so Earth has a sexually transmitted disease where something needs to gorge on the innocence and it gets off on it. This is the S&M, the demonic sexual entanglement. Ropes, knots, boxes, pentagrams, pins, needles, entanglements of language, erotica in our Disney. And bugs that want to crawl up your butt and your noodles. Yeah, I said it. So let's take a look at Earth having a sexually transmitted disease. Stay with me. This may sound like a strange analogy to you, and it may even sound funny, but if you stick out your hand and I lick your palm and I walk away, am I still with you? Is there still DNA on your palm? Is there opportunity for disease? Is there opportunity for you to even maybe like it? There's opportunities there. Will that experience stay with you because it was strange? So if you think about it, that saliva and the hand thing, opening oneself up to the experience, expecting a handshake or expecting something that's going to be okay, and then having to go through all these different dimensions of trying to figure out WTF, what happened and how many different things did I subject myself to because I exposed myself to that opportunity. And this is what it is to have somebody shadowing your culture after you done shook their hand. It's like Thanksgiving. The true story of Thanksgiving wasn't pretty. It's theft. You're expecting one thing and getting something totally different. It's like magic. You can't see me. You can't see the energy. You can't see, the trick. But it's there. Just like the air that we breathe. That chi energy. It's there. It builds things. It's working. It's moving. This entity draining Earth is like some vampire. And this vampire is going to sip you through a straw. Has been. Sipping through a straw. How does that happen? How do you take the energy and do that? Gonna make situations that stir up emotional energy, and then I'm gonna funnel it. How do I funnel it? By using designated ley lines and buildings and stuff, and using magic that's right in front of your face. Ancient magic that's meant to be able to channel and funnel energy, whether it's through the systems of sociology, government control, and doing it that way. And that's surface. We don't see what's behind these labels and emblems and stuff like that, without ever seeing the force that's depicted behind the different symbols and stuff that they use, like the eagle. So they're just sipping us through a straw, and each place is sectioned off, just like a computer. You have continents, and then you have states, and then each state has cities and towns. And each one of those have a circuit board, a courthouse, or a city hall, a place that takes care of the flow of money and energy, and to this big mechanizm of circuits and structures that we call society. And just like a heart valve, these people who govern this body of energy decide how fast or slow that heart is beating. I think they put us into a state of deep sleep, past meditation that's beneficial, but into a place of hypnotization. We're hypnotized while we're being gorged on. Just wanted to slide that in there. And talk about, excuse my language, being fucked, and where that came from, the king's language, giving his knights permission to just go at it before the husband in order to ensure the DNA and the psychological warfare on a people without economic structure, or the ability to know how they were being gorged upon. Why was that necessary? That fear. To incite energy into that space. It's like banging on your laptop when it fuzzes out, or a radio or a TV or something, playing with the antennas, working on the flow of energy, that heart flow, the heart valve. They're like valves, these gatekeepers. And some of them just open the gate. They don't know why, but the ones who built the gate do. Okay? The ones who built the structure of the city do. Check out Washington, D.C. You think Benjamin Banneker doesn't realize what he did? They used his plans for the White House. He was working with some other guy. And I'm talking off the top of my head, so I don't have the exact details of the research present, of the history. But what we're talking about is the layout of Washington, D.C. The geological structures that they put there of Baphomet near a pentagram and stuff like that. Lots of different occult symbolisms which capture energy, that help funnel energy from within society, are right there prevalent in our face. But because we were not knowledgeable of it and manipulated like a magic trick, we were unable to defend ourselves against such forces that have now become so powerful they keep updating their computers. They keep updating their ability to tap in and gorge and feast. I mean, do you see what these movie stars do? These when they're addicted, they will kill themselves because they have so many resources, right? You can name so many of them, and that's what this is. This is something that cannot stop itself. Just gorging, feasting. To the point where it has to stop itself. It wants to stop itself. Anybody out there ever been addicted to something and you want to stop yourself from engaging in it? Twinkies, alcohol, women, men. gambling, television. Anyway, could be anything. But that's another way how they gorge. Just wanted to show that view. Right. And I said all that to say, and in case people are wondering, well, why is this ascension being allowed to go on? Why are people allowed to be privy to all this information right now? Why now? If they're trying to stop us, why are they allowing us to wake up and actually assisting and giving us information? And the reason is, I just told you, there's no way in for them without the original people of the planet that the planet was made for. Whether you want to look biblically or scientifically or through some other kind of dogma, you're going to see it. Like the time is now. The original people this planet was made to be in a symbiotic relationship with. They're not in a symbiotic relationship with that. So the only way that they can get in is to hijack us, as they have been doing through lower technology and systems. Now they've definitely cranked it up because we're in a time of awakening and it's time for them to pay up. They don't want to. So they go through all these different tangents and stuff like that to try to exist without doing what is required. And that's growing up and realizing that you're a part of everything and everything is a part of you. Not trying to kill that which you're afraid of and control it throughout by any means necessary. Anyway. So why all the manipulation? And like a narcissist, they will blame you and play manipulative games and do sleight of hand, just like a magic trick. It's really all quite cozy and special. It's not really that difficult to get once you see that it's sexual. It's all very sexual. Like a snuff film, sexual kind of thing. And this energy, if it was healthy, and these people who support the structure of the way our society is built, if we were in our right minds, that's where ergo the manipulation. Why manipulate? Because if we were in our right minds, we would not choose such a thing. If we were healthy, happy, strong, and wise, as we were meant to be by our Creator, the right to choice and not manipulated, we would never allow ourselves to be treated so horribly by the narcissist 1% or whatever they are, choosing to call themselves God, to be God, to take the place of God, to go beyond measure, building things like CERN and time machines and the structure of society to keep us sick and blind and stupid. That's all the things that people who are addicted do, people who are sick do, people who have dysfunctional behaviors do. And you could even use the psychology and the sociology and use it as a mirror, flip it inside out. If you look at society and where you live at is a marriage, is your womb space, is a marriage. Electing presidents and people within this society and being in agreement with certain things and cultivating your space. The society is what nurtures us, and we're in a marriage with it, and it's dysfunctional. It's a parent. It's a dysfunctional, narcissistic parent. It's an abusive mate. It's a naughty God that likes snuff porn and has had the time while we were sleeping to capitalize and professionalize and articulate all kinds of mechanisms and machines and gizmos and structures, social structures, psychological structures, institutions to keep us believing that this reality is the one that we belong in, when our deep nature knows that it isn't, and we're so afraid to admit that we are sick. But it's time to wake up. And I'm so pleased that you could join us, that we could join each other. I'm so glad that this is not a fantasy. That cannot happen and be a reality. I'm so glad the time is now, and this is the time of revelations, of awakening, of realizing, of learning and sharing. How many times has this world shifted and changed? How many times have the continental plates shifted and the magnetic field changed or been interfered with? How many times have the animals had to repopulate, replenish themselves, set a different course, get used to something different, or wait for their regular path to repair itself? You know, part of that is the reason why certain animals become extinct, because they can't get set into another pattern. It's instinctive. That's weird, right? Instinctive, instinct, extinct. If they lose their instinct, they can become extinct. It's on another level because it's what we have, for lack of better words, we call primitive and natural. But there's an upside to that. Primitive and natural can mean something good. I mean, it would be wonderful, and it was wonderful. It still is, but something else interfered with that, so it's not primitive or natural. That should be on trial or be called negative. It's the interference with what was organic, beautiful and lovely just the way it was, acting just as it be, without interference before us so-called caretakers come along and want to make a condo or a parking lot. Are we even aware of how many times this world has had to reconstruct itself to accommodate its life forms and set new paths? A matrix within a matrix, world within worlds. Do you remember Sputnik? Now, if NASA, we know as we're waking up more and more, if NASA is a crock and Sputnik was first, and outer space is actually the innerverse, and what was discovered, just stay with me, was quantum, time travel, inner space, multi-dimensions, not outer space, but the confirmation about perception. As above, so below. What is in is also without. Where does that come from? And things are multidimensional, even in speak. There's always layers. For instance, everything is like a cat in a hat and like a riddle. It's a spiral. The Bible is coded. Not only is it good for moral direction, and it'll tell you, even someone who reads the word literally can use it for moral, good orderly direction, God. And live a life and be cool with that. Actually be a pretty lovely person. Just going no further than literally taking it word from word and living their life the best they can. Some people, that's it. That's their experience. That's their interaction. Others can take that Bible and look at the metaphors and look at the deeper meaning. Look at the poetry in it. Look at the theology and do the historical background and, get all into it and see the poetry of it, see the different depths of it and stuff. There's different ways to look at it. And then yet still, there's others that could decode it and find the deeper meaning and the astrology and the anatomy. And how that equates with the historical background. So you have dimensions. Everything is multidimensional. That one thing. And that one thing has been an instrument on multiple levels. Multidimensional tool. It has a pole. It's been used in a negative way. It can also be used in a positive way, all depending on the perception of the person who beholds it, how they perceive it. And what's also inside of them. Like, there's many different factors and combinations that can happen with this one book. You're talking back to how many times do we even know this earth has been reconstructed using certain tools, anchoring in on certain things? Do you know they found planes in Egypt? They had these little mini planes, these little mini golden planes they made. Looks like a little figurine or something. Do you know they took these planes in modern day and measured them out, and they were anatomically correct to be able to fly? Stuck an engine in it, and the suckers fly because they're anatomically correct. Where did they come from? I'll tell you, it's like wheels within wheels, like that story from the Bible.
And here are some passages that draw correlation to UFOs and the encounters of the fourth kind coming from Ezekiel. As I looked, behold, a stormy wind came out of the north, and a great cloud with brightness around it, and a fire flashing forth continually. And in the midst of the fire, as were gleaming metal, and from the midst of it came the likeness of 4 living creatures, and this was their appearance. They had human likeness, but each had 4 faces. Each of them had 4 wings. Their legs were straight. The soles of their feet were like the soles of a calf's foot, and they sparkled like burning bronze. Under their wings, on their 4 sides, they had human hands, and on the 4 had their faces and their wings thus. Their wings touched one another. Each of them went straight forward, without turning as they went. As for the likeness of their faces, each had a human face. And the 4 had the face of a lion on the right side, an ox on the left side, and an eagle. Such were their faces, and their wings were spread out above. Each creature had 2 wings, each of which touched the wings of another, while 2 covered their bodies, and each went straight forward. Wherever their spirit would go, they went, without turning as they went. As for the likeness of the living creatures, their appearance was like burning coals of fire, like the appearance of torches moving to and fro among the living creatures. And the fire was bright, and out of the fire went forth lightning, and the living creatures darted to and fro, like the appearance of a flash of lightning. And over the heads of the living creatures there was the likeness of an expanse, shining like awe-inspiring crystal, spread out above their wings. And under the expanse, their wings were stretched out straight, one toward another, and each creature had 2 wings covering its body. And when they went, I heard the sound of their wings like the sound of many waters, like the sound of the Almighty, the sound of tumult, like the sound of an army. When they stood still, they let down their wings, and there came a voice from above the expanse over their heads. When they stood still, they let down their wings. And above the expanse over their heads, there was the likeness of a throne, in appearance like sapphire, and seated above the likeness of the throne was a likeness with a human appearance. And upward, from what had the appearance of his waist, I saw, as it were, a gleaming metal, like the appearance of fire enclosed all around it. And downward, from what had the appearance of his waist, I saw, as it were, the appearance of fire. And there was a brightness around him, like the appearance of the bow that is in the cloud on the day of rain. So the appearance of the brightness all around. And now as I looked at the living creatures, I saw a wheel on the earth beside the living creatures, one for each of the 4 of them. As for the appearance of the wheels and their construction, their appearance was like the gleaming of beryl. And the 4 had the same likeness, their appearance and construction being as it were a wheel within a wheel. When they went in any of their 4 directions without turning as they went. And their rims were tall and awesome, and the rims of the 4 were full of eyes all around. And when the living creatures went, the wheels went beside them. When the living creatures rose from the earth, the wheels rose. Wherever the Spirit wanted to go, they went, and the wheels rose along with them. For the Spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. When those went, these went, and when those stood, these stood. And when those rose from the earth, the wheels rose along with them. For the Spirit of the living creatures was in the wheel. So as you can see from these passages taken from Ezekiel in the Old Testament of the Bible, you'll notice that creatures, human-like, ascended from the sky or the heaven in wheels, within wheels, made of steel surrounded by fire, and also by glowing eyes, which I could easily compare to light. And the vehicles that the creatures were within moved with their spirit, which you could also correlate to with thought or with their mind. And wherever their minds wanted to go, they went. And the wheels rose along with them. For the mind of the living creatures was in the wheel. So you can see that this passage is actually talking about aerial vehicles shaped like saucers, or rings within rings, that moved with a thought in the creature's mind.
All right, check out this person's magnetism toward this story in the Bible. Different perspective.
Wheels within wheels means a situation that is complicated due to secret or indirect influences. It comes from a vision in Ezekiel. The appearance of the wheels and their craftsmanship was like the gleam of beryl, and all 4 had the same form. Their appearance and craftsmanship was like a wheel within a wheel.
Famous expressions from the Bible. See, for some people that's enough. It's an interesting thing to say on that topic at church or wherever. But for me, that didn't sustain me. It wasn't me. I would have more questions, and I did. And so, that's a different dimension. We have wheels within wheels. We have words within words. We have metaphors within metaphors. How many different times was the earth destroyed? By morons? By people evolving. By us changing and growing and learning. Many times. And so we have a matrix within matrix, right? And at the center of it all, like the monkey who doesn't want to let their hand out of the jar, we are. It's the female principle. And like with any addiction, you don't want to relinquish it. You just keep going. You just keep going until you kill yourself and everything around you. Sometimes, depending on what kind of addiction it is. And some people will eat themselves to death or drink themselves to death. It's like how you can wake up and wake up some more and then realize that there's a lot more waking up to do, a lot more to learn, you know? A matrix within a matrix. What I'm getting at is the Russian dolls. You know, we learn this absentee female principle that needs to balance things out. And, you know, the time travel and CERN, you know, and quantum D-mechanics with and indoctrinating people into this computer network, you know, and the matrix, and how you can be awake and be on one level and then realize that there's another level and that they're trying to stick you in a different dimension of it. It all makes more sense. Russian dolls. In the same way that there is a canopy, a web, a history, an ancient bloodline, past lives, a connection with Earth to the grid that some of us have to the Earth, to the consciousness of the Earth, to the planet of the Earth, to the Earth grid. The Earth is also connected to the universe. There's an organic connection going on, you know, so it would be the full elemental zodiac, okay? The full elemental universal zodiac. Now, what's happening with this new move with CERN and a D-Wave computer that I've been following, if you ask me to break down the science, I don't have it. You can ask Patch Adams or somebody else. Go look up the science of it to explain it back to you. That's not what I'm trying to do. The flip side of that, what I see, allowed to see, is that with the Walt Disney, bam, what was he doing down there in those tunnels? Why did they start changing stuff around and embed the things into the unconsciousness of the mind and then the movies and stuff like that? Why is it not just important to make people feel, to program people or to make them feel some kind of way? Because every time they look at television, they predominantly see people other than themselves, right? It's not just that kind of control that I'm talking about at all. Those are different dimensions of it, and if you stop there, you won't see all of it. And I don't want to forget what I've been shown to remember. Yes. And the same way that we're connected organically to the grid, and we are natural beings and children of Earth who've chosen Earth, they're trying to snatch away free choice in a different way by attaching themselves to our ether, to our dark matter, to our consciousnesses. Like we pull them, bring them with us. You build your consciousness, if we are building the reality, our realities around us, with consciousness, and that consciousness is tied together depending on predominant thought, right? That when it's time for us to eradicate certain things or to change our lives, we're going to bring in what we're thinking about, right? Like all the triggers that you get around holidays, like ringing a little bell that reminds you of your childhood, and you suddenly have to have certain things, do certain things, be certain places, eat certain things, you know. Okay, it's certain things happening at certain times that triggers all of us, and it's very normal. All of a sudden you're in a line, you're paying money, you're buying food, you're making food, you're buying presents, you're running around, you're stressed out, and you better get that particular thing done, or you just happen to want something. Now, I've been watching some of the movies and stuff. It started out where I was thinking, okay, about the elderly and how the way things are going right now, they basically hold the consciousness in the place, because there's nothing that's coming out right now that they've made that's wholesome in the last 20, 30 years. It's been really depleted of moral value to the point where we're just rebooting all the old stuff. Even more so, I'm winging it and just trying to get the thought down, okay? They're attaching themselves to our consciousnesses through the old stuff. And if that's forgotten, then, you know, you can't lose the old cartoons in Disney. That's, they keep coming up with remaking the same movies over and over again that attach themselves to movies that our parents used to watch. Okay? Redoing the same kind of stories and movies, and even as the Bible was redoing the same kind of stories. And around the globe, the same kind of stories are redone for that culture, so that they're accepting of that knowledge, that spirituality, that mentality, that guidance, the way that society would like to be guided to go. That's the system that's predominantly there. And through that memory and the building of reality, through holding on in an agreement of that reality, through co-signing for that existence, we hold things into place. We decide what we want and what we don't want. And right now we're in a shift. We're actually inside of a black hole, pulling apart what we like and what we don't like. This is a major push right now. And if you see that we have the ability to push all things apart. We have the ability to make moves here, to make change here. You can see the vast potential. But what about the things that are in our minds, in our unconscious minds? The deprogramming. All that stuff that we are still learning. That we are still unraveling. And I was thinking, wow, even if you change the entire system and some new dimension in reality was supposed to happen, how does it happen where in each dimension of reality they say people who are privy to that, maybe they've traveled or have information or whatever, if you listen, they'll say there's dimensions where things might change just a little bit. In one dimension, the president might be different. Another, the cars might drive on a different side of the road, or a city might be called a different name. But what about something small like Bernstein Bears? What about something like you just wake up? I mean, a lot of people are seeing the time fluxes. If you're listening to this, I know you can stay with me. I'm bouncing a lot. Understand what I'm getting at? If something changes just slightly, what is it that is locking that mega piece in place? So we all need to, in the shift, if we know it's a shift and there's supposed to be a major change in reality, why are there still minor changes? And the only major changes we're hearing about is tech. All these movies and these, cartoons and the subliminal messages that have been embedded in all the wording and magazines and the programming. We're taking them with us. And the capacity that they were in before. Okay, so they're a part of our reality and our existence that we built in. So you got people who don't know about, say, 80-90% about what we talk about here. And when you mention quantum D mechanics, you know, the computer, right? The D-wave computer and how it's collecting the consciousness into this program. And what we're talking about is, how do they steal the consciousness and sneak in? What are they trying to do? Trying to ride the backs of those who are conscious and plugged into the planet. Riding on our wave of consciousness through our unconscious mind. All that stuff regarding creativity that they've controlled all this time, even to cutting, you know, the arts programs and stuff back in the inner cities, to changing the frequency of music up into manipulating and monopolizing the public with the type of music they play. Like the rap music, just, you know, rock and roll, just certain things that they put to purposely poison communities, cultures, and the youth. So what I'm getting at is there's been a fight that only some of us have been aware of when it comes to the arts and creativity, and trying to keep those programs and those things available for people that are just living, let alone people in the profession of it and what they've been going through. You look at that, you see the perception on that differently. Then you look at what happened to Sophia Stewart. And you look at what happened to the woman who did the Harry Potter book. How she literally handcuffed her work to her, she handcuffed her work to her freaking wrist. So plagiarism and theft of your creative arts and abilities is something that's been outstanding, even cutting them back and controlling them and manipulating them, because they're powerful. Ideas and art and sharing things like that are very powerful. And so with this new computer, you won't have to ask anybody for copyrights. It won't matter. Like, that stuff will be on TV before you even publish it. Someone else will have taken it and used your work and bought it from some freaking source, from the ether, from some blockchain secret source that can just take your ideas. So they've been living off of the creative ability of those who are more unfortunate for quite a while as a manipulative tool. I'll let you squawk or write or draw or make this or do that, if we are able to profit from it. And that's how you use your social stratus. And they've been controlling that for quite a long time. And even then, Sophia Stewart says they're greedy. We all know they're greedy. What are you stealing for when it just doesn't make any sense? I'm not even going to go into how much is being controlled and by the 1%. But look now, they won't have to ask you for copyrights to that book, or to do that play, or for that piece of music, that thing that you're thinking of, that tune that you're writing down, those notes for that secret something that you're building, that special something that you want, can all be snatched right out of your mind, just like you put it in a box on the inbox on the Ethernet and SoundCloud. Just snatch it right out of your mind. Perhaps since the computer is a network of a copy of our own brain system, and there's nothing new under the sun. There's only Russian dolls here. Copies of copies of copies. like the miniature planes found in Egypt that they blow up to size and fly here. What's that all about? So we have a copy. The computers are a copy of our, in the same way that we have the inbox or the Dropbox. Okay, so we're just building more systems, sophisticated copies of what's already here. If you look at it, like the temples or a communication system, you know, and how the government uses a lot of the systems that we had for not positive things, and they control it, therefore controlling the people right under our noses, where many of us don't even realize what's going on. Like I said, you know, 80-90% of this information that we talk about here and can understand, overstand, that we get, that we can comprehend, those people don't get. Most of the people around us are not. They don't even want to hear it. It's way over their head. It's too complicated. Anyway. Now, I was just thinking of this because a lot of the things that I only had a notion of, that I could only suspect, that I only felt, that would be considered a schizophrenic or a psychologically unstable thought before, is now fact, that it's possible that it could be done. And in lieu of the life that I've had and all the things that have happened, only thing is left for me to do is just come out and say. There's music and writings and things that I've had, that I've heard other people claim that they've had, that have been seen on TV and in movies and published. And people can't claim that it was theirs. But they say that it was their idea. They always should take a closer look at this. None of that is going to even be necessary. Say, oh, but that was mine. Because before you can say it and start writing it down and do it, they're going to end up having it. Because they can snatch it right out of the air with this new invasive attempt to replace the true creator by calling themselves God, using paper money that's made from the trees that belong to the air that we breathe. And with each breath, our hopes and dreams is the current. That's what makes us buy things and move in certain directions. Desires. And they manipulate these desires by controlling the arts. If you control the ability for people to dream, they're not going anywhere. It all starts with a thought. Ergo, we are the music makers. We are the dreamers of the dreams. I believe that's how it goes. It all starts with an idea. And if you just snatch them out of the sky, the things that our Creator gives us, the people that are plugged into the planet, the ideas to fix things, to change things, to heal things, the energies that can be twisted with those words in the opposite direction. There's a pole to that. You can destroy things. Look how those who are just the little 1% have been corrupted and sickened to the point where they choose to destroy things. What happened? Were they infected with something? Or were they already infected? I mean, if you're infected with something, maybe you can heal it. But if you were already infected and you're infecting everyone else, then what do? You know what they do in the movies, right? They look for the original source. and they eradicate it. These people are playing with the Creator, playing with light code frequencies. That's what language is. The Creator, the creativity, our ideas, our thoughts, our passions, our desires that are plugged into the planet are given by our Creator. And now they can just snatch them right out of your Dropbox. A square, you're pinned, burn these boxes. They got it squared. And now they can just come and take their ideas right out of your little Dropbox. Ain't that something? That's a really frustrating freaking notion. You truly will own nothing attached to your social security number and the straw man thing. And doggone it, can't even stop them from spraying chemtrails or poisoning the food, giving us GMOs, or stop them from what they're doing within the school system. Still fighting them from poisoning us with vaccines. So what are you going to do with this? It can even change your thought process and replace your thoughts. Pretty soon, maybe nobody will care. Nobody will care to look up Mandela effect or care when they see them. They won't have the individualism or the artistic notion to go look at anything. No more bright colors, pastels, grays, and then newspaper to fade to black. But when they do that, it's all whitewashed. Their choice of creator, creativity, creativeness, artistic abilities, governed but manipulated, as it has been, with the system that's previously underneath the one they're building right on top of us. And they built this one right on top of the other one. And they used information from this one, from that one, and so on and so on. Ergo Russian dolls. And that's why we're sick. It would pay to see that sickness begets sickness. And what they're taking is well and wholeness and pure and loving and free, and contaminating it to the freaking nth power till it stinks. Made a stench they can smell beyond our own freaking universe. The souls under the altar, and the ignorance and the gorging on the children of the Creator. Do you think they would let a crackhead in their house and just go crazy and tell the police, no, let them do whatever they want in the house and kill everybody and murder everybody? Pedophile, crackhead murderers just go crazy in their mansion, killing up everything and murdering and gorging. Oh, don't touch them. Yeah, can't touch that one. I don't think that our Creator is letting this fly. There's a war going on, and they're doing everything they can to stop themselves from getting their butts whooped. But it's already done. It's a done deal. Would any mother truly, man, look, check out Wingmakers. Like, it's beyond trauma. It was beyond beating a dead horse. It was beyond the place of being fearful. It was beyond the place of what they did to the Templars and the torture and all that stuff. It was beyond burning witches and killing families in Sudan, beyond all the murdering and killing and lying and stealing. It's piled up so much, just gorged themselves on the Creator's children. And don't want to let go, like a dog with a bone, like a rabid dog, like a mad dog with power. Bloodlust, drunk with power, gorged, and backed themselves into a corner. DNA. Spirituality, connectivity to the Almighty. They say nay. But they want to beget us and rule us. Sheeple for the steeple. Punch you in the stomach and then blame it on you. Tell you you wanted it. Rape you, kill you, and then tell you you asked for it. And there's nothing you can do about it. And then smile at you in your face and say, I didn't do that. Totally narcissistic. Addictive behavior. These people... when I was studying sociology, it was looking at the economics, and they were saying how economics, that corporate law and corporate, the way they do things, that it was psychotic, had a narcissistic, psychotic nature to it when you looked at the parameters and diameters of how our economy does things, how they have been doing things, rigging the game. Great book. War on the Poor, another great book. It's assigned to people for human services work and sociology too. In some cases. A little nun, Sister Charlotte, disappeared. She would talk about, she did a little interview about, she escaped from the Vatican. She had been in for years. She told a horrific story about how they buried nuns in holes and stuff and prayed over them, keep the spirits from popping out. You hear stories of how that place is haunted. Anybody that I've heard who's been there says you can feel the nastiness of the place. You see pictures of them with skulls and bones and stuff like that. But they teach us in these little old churches that we're not supposed to have this and we're not supposed to have that, and then contradict with holidays, with things that are contrary to all the things that we have studied and we've been told are righteous. And we are told have the nature of God from Sunday school and church and stuff. Lots of contradictions where it scrambles your brain already. There's already cognitive dissonance where somebody who seems to be sure of themselves can just come along and say, I've got you. Lambs, sheeple for the steeple. Controlling all that creative energy. All those textbooks. All those Bibles. All that philosophy, all those building designs that will bring in energy, like building chapels and stuff, and graveyards. There's a science to this stuff. The ordinary person is not knowing, not even, has no idea that it even exists, what they're looking at. And now, and all this time, we've had one system built on top of another system. And shoot, most of the people around us are not even aware of the system that It's getting ready to be outdated again and again and again. Here we are again with the upgrade. Quantum D mechanics. These people, these spirits, these entities are bold. They've done this before. Floating around. That part in the movie, The Matrix, where he says your people are like a disease. You go around and you spread. I don't think he was talking about us. He's talking about them. Whatever entity that just takes over people's worlds and spreads and doesn't care about the life form that's already there. If you're not sustaining the life form that's already there and it's not precious to you, you don't belong there. Because everything that's from a planet is a part of it. Like you're a part of your mother and father. That is what you are, like a seed. And Earth is a giant seed, so what in the world would come from this place and not appreciate what comes from this place? It would be impossible. But we have terraforming going on with chemtrails. And beings who have the notion that we are worth that little, that we mean that little, that we are that ignorant, that your opinion means that it doesn't mean anything. They don't even have to ask you. And all this, what's going on, you have no say-so, not even about yourself, but your children either, or your grandchildren. And you had no say-so about your mother and father before you, or grandparents who didn't or did see this mess, who fought or may not have fought because they saw or did not see the mess. Probably considered crazy if they lived in America and locked away somewhere or killed prior to this one freaking fantastic moment in time where the buck stops here. And all those generations that they said, oh, waiting on the Lord. You know? Better tomorrows will come. And this is the time that I think that the world is going to end. I remember my grandma or elders and stuff around me saying, oh, the way the world looks, it must be coming soon. Listening to the preacher say, oh, yeah, it must be coming soon. And then listening to elders who said that their mothers or grandparents thought that it must be coming soon. And you begin to take and fan your nose up at that kind of thing. Yeah. It's coming soon. God, the Lord is coming soon. Revelations and stuff like that. When you feel some kind of way for whatever reason. But we're actually in the time when everything says the bell is ringing. And all those people who have died and suffered, energy doesn't die, it only transforms. All that energy is right here, right now. Not knowing about quantum mechanics, computers snatching your ideas out of your brain like those little machines in the Matrix movie, snatch the little eggs out of the pods, the little babies and stuff, and turn them into batteries. And we gasped. Not knowing about quantum mechanics, snatching the ideas out of your little brain because you can't see it, doesn't stop it from happening. Not knowing that your grandparents were slaveholders didn't stop it from happening. Not knowing what they were doing to us in society didn't stop it from happening. Right? And we felt so freaking helpless. Water is wet. And it's just happening, right? Well, that same freaking feeling is intensified and going back at you, baby, on the other side. So this is a time for us to rejoice. Yeah, think of that feeling of utter desperation and hopelessness that we have had for so long. Decades after decades. I don't know how many times that we've been destroyed and redone. But this time, the astrological combination this time, we must know and believe that this is the time when we are empowered by that which never dies. Energy never dies. It only transforms. And they speak to us and tell us things and lead the way. If only we listen. Even if they turn them into little batteries and take the ideas and snatch them out of the sky. We are so magnificent that all this had to be done just to stop us from creating something much more useful. And that time is now. A healing, a much better place to imagine with our creativity.